Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're cracking open a book that's practically earned its place on the Self-Help Hall of Fame. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
A classic for a reason, wouldn't you say? But get this, we're going beyond the typical highlight reel and digging into some surprisingly nuanced stuff.
Exactly. You might think, oh, Think and Grow Rich. I know the gist. But trust me, this deep dive uncovers some golden nuggets, even some eyebrow-raising ideas about thought, desire, and yes, even a little bit of sex appeal.
Intrigued? Good, because we're working with excerpts from the 2011 ebook, so it's all fresh and accessible. And for those who haven't had the pleasure of reading it.
We're about to give you a crash course in Hill's philosophy of achieving, well, riches. But hold on. It's not just about the Benjamins, even though that's a big part. It's about tapping into the mechanics of your mind to get what you want, whatever that may be.
Hill doesn't just skim the surface either. He dives headfirst into the power of thought, imagination, and yes, even throws in a curveball with something he calls sex transmutation.
Okay, yeah, that part definitely made me do a double take.
Yeah.
But before we send everyone running for their fainting couches, let's back up a sec.
It's important to remember the historical context, too. This book was published smack dab in the middle of the Great Depression. Talk about a gutsy move.
Seriously, imagine picking up this book in the midst of all that despair and hardship. Hill's message of hope and possibility must have been like a shot in the arm.
It wasn't just a message, it was a lifeline. People were desperate for something, anything, to cling to. And here comes Hill, telling them that they have the power within themselves to change their circumstances.
So when he talks about harnessing desire, it takes on a whole new meaning against that historical backdrop. This wasn't just some motivational fluff. It was a radical idea that resonated deeply with people who were struggling to survive.
Absolutely. It was a beacon of hope in a time of immense darkness.
Okay, so let's talk about this sex transmutation thing, because it's not exactly something you hear every day, especially in the context of achieving success.
Right. Not your average financial advice column. But before you jump to conclusions, Hill isn't suggesting we all, become, let's just say he's using the term metaphorically.
Okay, good to know. So
Right.
what exactly did he mean by it then? It sounds like he's talking about channeling some pretty primal energy.
Exactly. He's saying that this powerful force, it doesn't just disappear, you can consciously redirect it. Instead of letting it control you, you harness that intensity and focus it towards your ambitions, your creative endeavors. Think of it like this incredible source of fuel that can be used to power your dreams.
So instead of, let's say, being distracted by those urges, you turn them into motivation to achieve your goals.
Precisely. And Hill suggested that a lot of high achievers, even if they didn't realize it, were already doing this. They were so laser focused on their work, their goals, that this energy was being channeled or transmuted into their drive for success.
I can see that. Think about those entrepreneurs who are constantly hustling, always working. Maybe it's not just about the work itself, but that underlying energy that's driving them.
Exactly. And it's not about suppressing that energy, but rather transforming it, using it to fuel your creativity and ambition.
This actually ties into another big idea in the book, burning desire. Hill tells this great story about Edwin Barnes, who was dead set on working with Edison not just for him.
Ah, yes. Edwin Barnes, a perfect example of what Hill meant by burning desire. This wasn't just some fleeting whim for Barnes, it was an all-consuming ambition.
He basically shows up on Edison's doorstep like,
Oh.
I'm not leaving until we're partners. That's some serious dedication and a bold move considering Edison wasn't exactly known for being approachable.
It was bold, but that's the point. Barnes wasn't just hoping for a lucky break, he was actively creating his own opportunity. He knew what he wanted, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen.
And even though he faced a lot of rejection initially, his persistence eventually paid off. He got to work with Edison.
And that's what burning desire is all about. It's not just about wanting something, it's about being so consumed by that desire that it fuels your every action, propels you forward, even in the face of obstacles.
What's interesting, too, is how clearly Barnes defined his goal. It wasn't just any job at Edison's company. It had to be with Edison himself. That clarity of vision seems crucial.
Absolutely. And Hill emphasized this repeatedly, the importance of having a clear, specific, well-defined goal.
He was a big believer in writing those goals down, visualizing them, and revisiting them regularly, right? It's about keeping that desire burning bright, making it feel real and achievable.
Precisely. It's about aligning your thoughts, your actions, and your energy with that ultimate objective.
Yeah.
And it's a practice anyone can benefit from.
And speaking of aligning yourself for success, Hill also talks about the power of surrounding yourself with the right people, what he calls forming a mastermind group.
Ah, yes, the mastermind principle, one of my favorite concepts from the book. It's absolutely brilliant in its simplicity.
So break it down for us. What does a mastermind actually look like in practice?
Well, Hill describes it as a sort of alliance of minds, a group of individuals who come together to support and amplify each other's thinking.
He even uses Henry Ford as an example,
Hmm.
right? Didn't Ford rely on the collective brilliance of others?
Exactly. Ford, as we know, wasn't exactly a scholar, but he was incredibly savvy about recognizing his own limitations and surrounding himself with people who could fill those gaps. He understood that his success wasn't just about his own intellect, but about leveraging the collective intelligence of a group.
So it's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts kind of thing, but with brains.
Yes, precisely. It's about synergy, about creating an environment where ideas can be challenged, refined, and amplified. Hill argued that this was crucial for achieving significant success, especially in fields like business and innovation.
And this isn't just a strategy for CEOs and inventors, right? It's something we can all apply to our own lives.
Absolutely. Think about your own network, the people you spend the most time with. Are they encouraging you to grow, to think bigger, to challenge your own assumptions?
That's such a good point. It's easy to get stuck in an echo chamber surrounded by people who always agree with us.
It can be comfortable, sure, but it's not always conducive to growth and innovation. The mastermind principle is about actively seeking out diverse perspectives, challenging your comfort zone, and embracing the friction of new ideas.
Okay, so say you've got your burning desire, you've assembled your mastermind. What's next on Hill's roadmap to riches?
Well, Hill also places a huge emphasis on the power of faith, not in a religious sense necessarily, but as an unwavering belief in your ability to achieve your goals.
He tells a fascinating story about a guy named Dr. Gonzalez, who was dead set on raising $1 million to build a new college. Problem was, he had no idea where the money was going to come from.
This story perfectly illustrates Hill's point about faith. Gonzalez didn't just wish for the money, he had an unshakable conviction that he would get it.
And what's amazing is that he spent 2 years preparing for the sermon he was going to deliver to secure this $1 million donation. He embodied that certainty even before he had a single dollar to his name.
Exactly. He acted as if it were a fact, not just a possibility. And that, Hill argued, is what made all the difference. It wasn't just wishful thinking, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So it's about more than just visualization. It's about aligning your actions and beliefs with your desired outcome. It's about acting as if it's already happened.
Precisely. It's about cultivating that inner knowing, that unshakable faith in your own ability to make it happen. And that, according to Hill, is what opens the door for opportunity to present itself.
Of course, there are always going to be roadblocks and setbacks along the way, which is why Hill dedicated an entire chapter to conquering fear.
And this is where his message becomes particularly relevant to the context of the book. Remember, this was written during the Great Depression, a time of widespread fear and uncertainty.
Fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. It was everywhere. And those fears are still incredibly relatable today, even if the circumstances are different.
Absolutely. But what's so empowering about Hill's approach is that he doesn't just tell you to ignore your fears. He gives you practical tools for confronting them head on, for reframing them as opportunities for growth.
So it's about shifting your perspective, taking control, not letting fear paralyze you.
Exactly. And that's where all those principles we've been talking about, the burning desire, the mastermind, the power of faith, they all come together to help you overcome those fears and achieve your goals. They form a sort of toolkit for navigating challenges and turning setbacks into stepping stones.
It's about building that inner resilience, that unshakable belief in yourself.
Precisely. And that ultimately is what Think and Grow Rich is all about. It's not just about accumulating wealth. It's about tapping into the untapped potential that lies within each of us.
It really is remarkable how a book written nearly a century ago can still feel so relevant today.
Hill tapped into something timeless, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure.
These principles of self-belief, resilience, and the power of thought, they transcend any particular era.
It's like he cracked the code of human potential, and he's sharing that code with anyone who's willing to listen.
And not just listen, but actually put those principles into practice.
Right.
Because that's where the real magic happens, right? It's not enough to just understand these ideas intellectually. You have to embody them, make them a part of your daily life.
Totally. He provides a framework, but it's up to us to build something with it. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, let me leave you with this. If you could handpick 3 historical figures for your own personal mastermind, group thinkers, creators, leaders, anyone who would be sitting around that table with you.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I'd have to give that some serious thought.
Right. Imagine the conversations, the brainstorming sessions, the sheer intellectual energy. Hill would be proud. He'd want us to surround ourselves, even if just in our minds, with that kind of greatness. Okay, everyone listening, we want to hear from you. Hit us up on social media. Tell us who would be in your dream team mastermind group and why. And that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep thinking big and keep growing.